And welcome back, everybody, to FullAccessSports.com. Craig Spivey now being joined by Glen Fowles, the head man for the Willamette Bearcats. And, Coach, another big win on Saturday. Of course, the Conestoga wagon wheel stays here, but more importantly, another step forward for your ball club.
Yeah, it was a good win, and it was exciting, and absolutely, it's we won that week, and that's really all we can ask from the guys is to win it week to week.
Keith Welsh, everything we knew that he would be. What an athletic kid, and I know you tried different types of coverages, different types of rushes, and finally kind of got it dialed up in the second half on him, didn't you?
Yeah, and he's, like I say, he's a guy that we knew going in that was going to give us a little bit of trouble just because he's a real athletic guy. He has the ability to run around, has the ability to throw the ball. This year he's keeping his eyes downfield a little bit more like we talked about, and it's, the one thing that helped our defense out is when we got up by a couple of touchdowns, it had to change their game plan a little bit. So when that happens, it's I don't want to say it's easier to defend, but there's less options at that time. So as soon as we can get them out of their game plan, it helps out. So that was good in the second half to get them out of what they had started doing in the first half.
Well, you can't talk about the defense without at least mentioning Jack Nelson and how he's played 19 tackles. Since he's got his opportunity stepping in for Wes, he's just been an animal on defense and defensive player of the week, and deservedly so. What a tremendous effort by that young man.
Oh, there's no doubt that guy is a heck of a football player, and we knew he was a heck of a football player, and it's one of those and that's kind of what happens defensively for us. It's they've got some real good guys kind of just waiting for an opportunity, and at the linebacker position, Coach Horner does a great job getting those guys ready, and as we go into the season, it's one of those, we know that some of our depth that we have at linebacker, there's good players sitting there. So when Wes went down, Jack was just waiting for his shot, and when his shot came, he's made the most of it. So yeah, the guy's a heck of a player. He's got a great instinct for the ball, and he makes a ton of plays, sideline to sideline, special teams. So yeah, he's on fire. We really enjoy Jack.
Talk about on the offensive side here, the offensive line, because we had this discussion back in fall camp with there was a lot of kind of moving around, not really knowing where the moving parts were going to fit and how that was going to work together. When you look at the offensive line right now, especially these last couple of weeks, how would you assess where they've come from the beginning of the season?
Well, the last couple of weeks we have made a couple of changes. We moved Keenan into center and Zane out to guard, and it's one of those things that that looks like it's our best five. And with the offensive line spot, it's one of those things. It's just not an individual effort, or it's kind of how that group works together. And right now we're getting a lot of production with Zane at guard and Keenan at center, more than we had the other way. So it's one of those that we tried a few things out just to try to find the best mix. And I think both those guys have the ability to be an all-league guard and all-league center, and that's what's really good about it. But it's how those five gel around those guys that's important. So yeah, we made a couple of changes, and they've been producing really well the last couple of weeks, and they're pretty confident in their assignment, and now it's just about execution. So yeah, we made a change, and like I said, it seems to, right now anyway, it seems to gel better. Right. So it was a good change for us.
And here we go with Pacific Lutheran here as you get into the really the meat of the schedule, as everybody would look at it. And of course, obviously it's a week at a time, and PLU is just next up. And the Lutes always provide a certain very unique set of challenges, if you were, especially on their offensive side with their many sets that Scott Westering likes to throw at you. When you look at the Lutes, they've lost a couple of games, but they've been close games and to good teams. So they've played a tough schedule.
Yeah, they played. They lost to Calu, they lost to Linfield, and those guys they're a really good football team. Yeah. So it's one of those things that they're as good as any of the teams that we're going to face. And you're right, on the offensive side of the ball. Scott likes to do a lot of things with the receivers, and more often than not, it's one of those. It's going to come down to how we align and how we perform. And on the defensive side, if we can get lined up right, keep some things in front of us, I think we're going to be okay. They've got good receivers. They got a good quarterback. So yeah, that's going to be the challenge on the defensive side is aligning to their personnel and making sure that we have the ability to keep things in front of us and not get beat for a big play and tackle really well. I mean, they got good players. If we can tackle well and do some of those things, I think I think our defense historically has played pretty well against them. So we're confident with it, but there's a few absolute challenges that are different than last week's challenges.
Well, they certainly like to throw a couple wrinkles at you all the time, and when you look at what they bring to you offensively, again, is one of their strengths the fact that they get you to overthink a little bit?
It could be, but when you get into that situation, it's really better to reduce some of the things that you do. They want people to really to overthink it, and sometimes it's subtracting is better and playing what you do better. So that's the thing. It's a kind of a cat and mouse game, and they want you to overthink things, and what we want to do is make it a little simpler for our guys to perform.
Pacific Lutheran and the Willamette Bearcats coming up next on FullAccessSports.com. For Glen Fowles, I'm Craig Spivey. Thanks for joining us, everybody. FullAccessSports.com.